On today's show, I think Mark Cuban regrets all of this. Or maybe this whole story is just insane. It's the Dallas Mavericks.
This is Cooper Flagg, and you're listening to Locked On Mavs.
Zone 5.
I think that's a good question.
Good morning, Isaac. All these changes, I still got my dog, Dwight Powell.
You are Locked On Mavs, your daily Dallas Mavericks podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network.
Still can't leave.
Your team every day.
And welcome. You're locked on to the Dallas Mavericks. My name is Nick Angstadt, media member covering the Mavs for over 10 years. Thanks for being an everydayer, making Locked On Mavs your first listen and Locked On Podcast Network, the #1 sports podcast network. And joining me, as always, my co-host, media member covering the Mavs for over 10 years, right alongside me, the billionaire boy, the one more thing king. What you got for me, Isaac Harris?
It's All-Star Weekend, baby. You excited? You pumped? You got the weekend cleared out for it?
I got Jackson Hayes plus 350. No.
That's what I thought.
Today's episode, we're going to get into the ownership squabbles between Mark Cuban, Patrick Dumont, the stories back and
Kalishaw,
forth.
Stein.
The Kalishaw versus Stein of it, Brad Townsend versus Stein, everybody, the story versus the story. What's a story? What's not a story? We'll also talk about the tanking situation right now. The Jazz win another game.
Let's go Utah, baby.
Good for them. Winning games, winning basketball games, doing what you're supposed to do as a professional basketball team. They've won a few in a row here. And so we'll talk about all that. We'll get into all that.
Shout out to the Jazz, baby.
Before we talk about tanking, though, this story came out the other day, and I did a show on it speculating about why the Dumonts would even consider selling the Mavericks. But the story came out the other day that Mark Cuban and an unidentified investor group was coming out of the woodwork to potentially try and make a bid and buy the Dallas Mavericks back from the Adelsons and the Dumonts. And so that story kind of ruminated around a little bit. Mark Stein commented on it here and there, but didn't really add a whole lot to that story. It just kind of was, and then it was just kind of gone. And now Brad Townsend reports this story coming straight from the Dumonts with a quote straight from them, straight from their spokesperson. Quote, "The Dumont and Adelson families remain fully committed to the Dallas Mavericks franchise and to the Dallas community. They remain focused on building a championship organization for the long term. The team is not for sale, and the families look forward to expanding their ownership stake over time." So here's my thing. Why did the Stein story come out at all? That there was an unidentified ownership group coming out that was going to join Mark Cuban.
Come on, you know how the story
and do all this. The thing that I go back to is, all right, Cuban still owns 27% of the team, and there's this option in the sale of the team that the Adelson and Dumonts, Las Vegas Sands, I'll call them, Las Vegas Sands can buy out Mark Cuban's 20% to buy him all the way down to 7% after within the first 4 years of their ownership stake. And so you look at that and you're like, all right, well, that's potential out there that they could just buy him down to 7%, which makes it much harder for him to come in and buy, 93% instead of what the other percentage would be on it. I think Mark Cuban regrets selling the team. I don't think that is a big stretch for me to say, especially considering everything that went down with the Luka trade, everything that has happened since then, the direction that the team has taken. I think that Cuban, that not being able to have basketball, control of basketball operations was a big thing that he tried to wish itself into happening. That didn't happen. And now I think Cuban regrets it. And so did Cuban leak the story to Mark Stein? Maybe. And so you always have to ask, like, all right, why is this story coming out? Who gave this story to which reporter? And then what happened now? Cuban was asked by Brad Townsend, by the way, about this. And he said, "I get asked fairly often if I would be part of a group if they could buy the team. I tell them all the same thing. I don't see them selling," which is not a denial of any of this also. And so I think Mark Cuban regrets selling the team. I think he wanted to try and just put a feeler out there to see if the Adelsons, Dumonts, the Las Vegas Sands were willing to sell. And it came back a big fat no. We're good, at least publicly.
Yeah, I mean, as soon as the first, Stein, thing came out, I was just like, all right, cool. Like, I would like to buy a Lambo, but I mean, if I don't have anybody willing to sell me one, I don't.
Yeah, but do you have an identified investor group joining with you to buy this Lambo? That's the thing. Is he was about to come into some capital.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, he knows. Yeah, but
that's when you go to your wife and you go, "Now listen, there's an unidentified loan shark that's willing to give me the capital to buy this land.
I'm always like, man, do I have anybody in my family that would die and give me money? And it's like nobody.
So unidentified family member whose will has my name in it.
So if anybody's listening and you don't have any family to give your will and like inheritance to, you can put my name down on it.
It goes to the government if you don't give it to somebody, right? So
dang it. So like my whole thing with all of it is like, all right, I get why Stein, did the story. He has his connections to Mark and stuff, but I'm like, none of it really matters unless the Dumont and Adelsons are willing to even listen to offers. I'm like, until I hear anything that they're like, hey, they would, it would take a crazy offer, or they would be willing to, or man, it's a little bit harder than what they thought, or it didn't go as well as they thought it was going to. So, they're kind of thinking about it. I haven't heard anything like that on record, off record, anything. So I'm like, all right, cool. Mark has some people that he would come around him and is like, let's try to buy back the team. And here's a question I'd play to you is like, let's just say you're in Mark Cuban's, Cuban spot. You sold the team. You probably regretted it. You probably regret it right now. What's the only card that you have to play? Like the only card that you have to play right now when like you are, I mean, if you still want any type of power, like you've been like, I mean, Tim McMahon even said in this recent spot after Nico has been fired, how Cuban is like back at the table. Tim McMahon said that he had somebody describe it to him that he's at the table with an ejector button. And it's like, all right, he's kind of at the table still. It feels like he was just like, man, I miss doing this. How can I get back into this? How could we get back control of the team? And the only card you have to play in it is, well, let's just try to get the public pressure on. And is there a world in which, like, if we pushed hard enough, even if they came out and the next level of it is like they identify the investors, they go on record with the investors, and it's like, well, this is the offer. We want to do this for the city. And they start trying to get the fan base. One of my questions is, what role does Dirk have in this? As far as like, could they convince Dirk to hop on board with them? And then it's like trying to create this big tidal wave, like kind of like Nico. And when Nico got ousted, but none of it matters unless Dumont's like, yeah, we'll listen. And they're not, like, they've said it publicly.
Public opinion has swayed them. It swayed them to fire Nico, right?
Yeah.
I think
because they didn't have a replacement.
I think that they still don't. I think that played a factor into it for sure. And so you have to look at it and say, all right, well, if I'm Mark Cuban, then what do I have? You said you have public opinion that you could try and sway your way and try and get some positive, get a bunch of Mavs fans be like, man, yeah, we would love Cuban to come back. There were a lot of Mavs fans though that commented on like our video and the story in different places that were like, hey, didn't Mark Cuban sell to these guys? And didn't he hire Nico? And didn't he like said all this? And like, he deserves some blame for this too, which I agree with to a degree. And so they're like, hey, the grass is not always greener when you go back to like the owner that was before.
Here's a ripple effect that I don't think has been talked about much over the past 24 hours that I want this story to get squashed ASAP is the next GM hire. Like even though as much as we joke about or talk about the possibility of a Jason Kidd hire and all that, I don't really want that. I want an experience. I've been pretty open. Like I want an experienced guy who's coming in here that has ran a team before, has the GM experience. And if I'm anybody that has any type of stature that could consider this job, you know what I want? I want to know who's going to be owning the team. And if that is any bit up in the air of, well, is it going to be Cuban and these, secret investors, or is it going to be Dumont? Do you want? So in a way, I was kind of like, all right, can we just squash it either way? Because I want somebody in here that feels like they probably have a foundation, or they at least know who they're going to be reporting to.
And so then the biggest Mavericks podcast decided to lead the show today with the story.
Yeah, I mean, it is the story of the past 24 hours.
I know, but you're like, we want to squash it. And you're like, well, let's start the show.
Well, I think squash it in
We're not doing a good job as a mouthpiece, Isaac.
No, but I think you're squashing about us reading the statement from that Dumont gave Brad and Stein of like, hey, they are not for sale. Because that first statement that they gave Stein, it was not a no. Like it was, hey, we're excited about the Cooper Flagg era and stuff. No. And with that, you got to come out and just say flat out, no, we are not selling. And that's what they end up doing tonight.
Yeah. No, Jason Kidd is not going to go to the New York Knicks, right? We're learning. We're learning in these stories, like to squash it and move on and all that. Also in this story is something about the arena, and I want to also talk about Cuban's stake in this going forward. What's Mark Cuban's future with the Dallas Mavericks? Talk about that in more coming up. Today's episode of Locked On Mavs brought to you by TurboTax. Tax season does not have to take over your life like maybe owning a basketball team took over your life in a way you didn't expect. This year, TurboTax is making it easier than ever to just hand things off and move on with your day. Maybe you have an unidentified group of investors in your life, and you need to now just like, hand that off to them, move on with your day, see what's going on. TurboTax full service. You can have your taxes done for you by a trusted local expert, start to finish, without the stress or the guesswork. They handle everything: W-2s, self-employed forms, and work to get you every deduction. You can just upload your documents, go about your day, get updates right in the TurboTax app, which is awesome. It's a huge time saver. It gives real peace of mind knowing that an expert is handling it. And for a limited time, you can have your taxes done by a local TurboTax expert for $150 all in. If you didn't have your taxes filed by TurboTax expert last year, you can file by February 28th. Take taxes off your plate and get back to your life. Visit TurboTax.com/local to book your appointment today. TurboTax.com/local.
Shut it down! Let's go home!
Thanks for hanging out with us on Locked On Mavs, being part of the show, part of the Raccoon Squad. That's what we call the listeners, listening every day, hanging out with us, invested in everything happening. An unidentified investor group is you all. We have the Everydayer Club, LockedOnMavericks.supercast.com. $5 a month, $50 a year. You can get access to ad-free episodes of Locked On Mavs, access to our Discord, level up, all that. You get a Discord that has all kinds of other chats with other NBA hosts, all the other ones. You can go to like Locked On Clippers and go comment on theirs, and we can go bomb the Locked On Clippers Discord. So we can do all kinds of stuff with that. LockedOnMavericks.supercast.com. All right. Remember when we used to raid other shows comment sections after playoff games? That was a fun time.
Locked On Suns, baby. That game 7 was. We ran
Brendan off the network. He left.
Honestly, he's like, I'm going awful announcing.
He did too. He was doing them at the same time.
Now he's writing about Ryan Russillo's Instagram stories.
What a downgrade. Brendan was awesome. Ben Garcia is great too on Locked On Suns. Mark Cuban, in this story, it says Cuban retained a 27% stake in the franchise, but a provision in the sale agreement gives the Adelson and Dumont families the option to buy all but 7% of Cuban's stake within the first 4 years of their ownership. All right, I'm checking the time. We still got some time left.
Not a ton, though.
Mark Cuban says, if I get asked fairly often if I was to be part of a group that could buy the team, I tell them all the time the same thing. I don't see them selling, which is not a no from him, saying that he didn't want to buy the team back. Yeah. Mark Cuban's future with the Dallas Mavericks is what? He's still around the team. He's still got his same seat right next to the bench. He doesn't go to road games like he used to. He doesn't have a say. He's trying to get it, a seat at the table to try and, influence Dumont's decisions. But that's what it is. It's a seat at the table. It's not a stakeholder spot. It's not hey, I have final say, or what I say even will get heard necessarily. But what is Mark Cuban's future with the Mavericks? Because that part is kind of strange to me now with this.
Yeah. Let me give you a church analogy.
Oh, I love this. Pastor Isaac.
Mark Cuban is the retired pastor that was pastor for like 30 years. And he steps down, they have a regime change, new pastor comes in. But the old vet pastor of 30 years stays, and he's like front row, goes every Sunday morning, and all the old crowd loves him. And they're like, oh my gosh, Pastor Mark, hi. And, they're waving and they greet him every Sunday morning. And the morale boost of the church of having him around is kind of like a glorified like mascot. he doesn't have like an official role, but like, you know, you kind of invite him to like a coffee every now and then to like hear his opinion, to where he feels like
my church growing up had one of these.
Yeah, to where he's like feeling like he's involved and he feels like he's giving input into decisions and stuff, but you're just listening to him, but you're really probably not taking any of it into consideration. But you want him to like kind of
stick around. Hymnals again.
So I think that's like the phase that Mark's going to be in. And he's, you know, front row, and people like seeing Mark Cuban. He'll wave at people and stuff, but he really doesn't have a ton of say so. And that's kind of what he signed up for when he sold the team. Right. And especially when you have a clause like this, they can go down to 7%, then going from that 27 to 7. Yeah. I mean, there's really nothing he can like do about it.
That's the strange thing in all this is like, what option does he have but to be that? And it doesn't seem like he's going to buy the team back. Although I will say, even though the statement says the team is not for sale and the family will look forward to expanding their ownership stake over time. All right, that's a statement. It's still a billionaire statement to me. So we'll see what happens. Anything can happen still. Mark Cuban himself said he would divorce his wife before he sold the team, right? You remember that?
Yeah.
I think his wife and him are still together, right? I think that's still true, right? So anything I think can happen still.
You mentioned you want to talk about the arena stuff. Did you have something?
Yeah, the other part of this story that Brad wrote on Dallas Morning News is Dumont on multiple occasions has stressed to the news that his plans to build a new arena are entirely independent of Sands' desire to build at least one casino resort in North Texas if the state ever legalized gambling, which is a funny way to write that. One of my speculations when this story first came out was that maybe this whole thing with trying to get gambling legalized is failing, because it is failing, because they haven't even gotten it to a vote of Texans yet. It hasn't gotten through like legislature to the point where it's even up for a vote. And so if that keeps failing, maybe they look at it and say, well, like, all right, this is not working. Let's cut our losses and go. It seems now that they're like, all right, hey, we're going to build this arena whether we get gambling legalized or not. We're in here for the long run, because, and maybe it takes 10 years, maybe it takes 15 years, but hey, we got time. Our pockets have time. Our pockets have time to wait for these pockets to get deeper.
We got time to get some heat.
We got time to get something to drink.
I mean,
we got time to go to the craps table.
They got time to build a casino, yes, but they don't really have time to like wait on it. And that's the thing of like, that's why
the arena or
on the arena, because
not on that,
like,
but they do have time to wait on gambling, like to get gambling.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They have time to wait on the casino, but
Right.
they don't have time to wait on the arena.
That's a good point.
And that's where you're seeing the shift happen of like, well, we kind of got to move forward with the arena, because you're looking at that 2031. Now we've, seen it, like even Rick Welts was talking about how they moved the deadline back. They were supposed to announce the official spot, beginning of this year.
Right.
Now I think it's going to be in the summer sometime. They at least said it's down to those two spots of Valley View if you're in DFW, but or keeping it downtown at where the courthouse is, but or City Hall, yeah. So yeah, it feels like that is going to be completely separate, but it hasn't. I mean, just to say again what you said, I think the gambling stuff definitely has went a lot slower than what they ever imagined, and trust me, they have put some money behind trying to get that thing legalized.
There's a story that Miriam Adelson put $10 million into super PACs for this upcoming election cycle for lieutenant governor and for, and all that.
A lot. Yeah.
It's a lot. They've put a lot of money. They're trying.
She's
they're
an
trying.
investor into politics.
That's true. High up politics everywhere. And has buddied up with Trump as much as she could to try and make this happen. And that hasn't seemed to move any of this. And so I think eventually, like, she'll get his ear to the point where he'll make something happen here, and then they'll move, right? Soon as Trump is like, hey, you do this and
casino happens.
You do this, we'll build a wall if you legalize gambling, like, or whatever.
Oh, God.
Like, I mean, right? But that's going to be one of the weirdest things, because we'll be like, wow, the gambling thing happened, but also this happened, because it was like, that's how this stuff works. It's like, all right, you give me this and I'll give you that. All right.
I already used up my political public statements for this week.
Oh, yes, you did. Bad Bunny. Awesome. Incredible halftime show.
It was great. Yeah.
Shout out to America. The arena is coming. We'll see what happens with that, but it seems like the Dumonts and Adelsons are committed to that and are committed to building that arena, no matter if gambling gets legalized. And so all the things I said on the show the other day have been debunked by this story. So great. Yeah. The other part of this we haven't really talked about though, real quick, is one more thing, is the Las Vegas expansion team was another thing that people speculated. It's like, hey, maybe they want to sell the Mavericks because they can just get the Las Vegas team. And I just think that timeline doesn't really make a lot of sense.
Yeah, that part gets confusing because they still got to vote on that, and the NBA
has to vote on it.
Yeah, the NBA's got to figure out their product. I think before they want to expand to Europe, they want to expand 2 more teams here. I'm like, why don't y'all focus on making your league better right now? Yeah.
Well, the problem is the league is making money. Attendance is still up everywhere. Like,
yeah,
they don't care.
Yeah.
They're playing the Nico game where it's like, hey, everybody's yelling at us, but I'm signing autographs for them too. Like.
Yeah, I think that the last question or last thing I'll say on is like, is the story done and what would keep the story going? And I think the next phase of like, is Mark willing to like take the next step forward of like public pressure type of thing? Is the story just going to end here, or do we get a Stein update in like 48 hours and it's like naming the investors, it's putting the groups on the table, it's like an official thing, and they're willing to offer this amount and they're putting a dollar amount on it, and it's like all of that stuff, and that like, or is it just done now? And that's what I don't know.
If the story comes out, Mark Cuban and Jeff Bezos have procured. What's the name? What's the word?
I don't know what you're going.
They have collected. They have $9 billion to offer for the sale of the Dallas Mavericks. You're like, if that story comes out, then this is not dead. But as of right now, it seems to be dead. Coming up, tanking so hot right now.
Yes, it is.
Today's episode of Locked On Mavs brought to you by ZocDoc. Finding a doctor you actually like can feel like discovering a diamond in the rough. You're looking, you're searching, you're trying to find the right one. Sometimes you go to a doctor and you're like, oh, you think that they're going to be one thing and they end up being something different. They don't really hear you out. You're trying to figure out, all right, well, do I switch, or now I've already gone there. They have my records. They've seen me naked, like all this stuff. And then you're like, all right, now I got to switch doctors and do all that. That kind of doctor that you want exists, and finding them is easy with ZocDoc. It's a free app and website to help you find and book high-quality in-network doctors so you can find someone you love without all the hassle. We're talking about booking in-network appointments from more than 150,000 providers across all 50 states. What's the state you live in? They have that one. Covering over 200 specialties, from primary care and dentistry to dermatology and eye care. So if you're an NBA referee, you can get some care that you probably need. Stop putting off all those doctor's appointments and go to ZocDoc.com/LockedOnNBA to find and instantly book the doctor you love today. That's ZocDoc, ZocDoc.com/LockedOnNBA, ZocDoc.com/LockedOnNBA. Thanks to ZocDoc for sponsoring this message. Also brought to you by Wayfair. They got just what you need. The new year is here. It's the perfect time to reset your routine and refresh your space. I did this with my backyard just recently. Got some string lights, got a hammock, got some tables, got some chairs. Oh, it's feeling great out there. The weather's been awesome. And Wayfair is the one-stop shop for you to get your home back on track. From bedding, mattresses, storage units for every room. Wayfair makes it easy to start the year fresh. You can refresh your room or just get something simple. I've gotten a ton of stuff from Wayfair. They ship it straight to your house, and I don't have to worry about going somewhere. I can assemble it myself, and you can check to see if everything's in there and send it back, and all that stuff you can take care of right there. Get organized, refresh, and back on track this year for way less. Head to Wayfair.com right now to shop all things home. That's Wayfair, WAYFAIR.com. Wayfair, every style, every home.
Shut it down! Let's go home!
Play the thing. All right, Isaac, let's talk about tanking, because it's so hot right now. So many teams are tanking. It seems like every team not in the play-in tournament, your beloved play-in tournament, is not trying to get into the play-in tournament or in any way, shape, or form. This year, especially, it's not working in any way. Maybe it's because the draft is so good, or maybe because teams have figured out, hey, the 9th seed has no shot at all to make it. Neither does the 10th seed. I think it's a couple times the 9th seed has made it, and like 0 times the 10th seed has made it into the actual playoffs. And then once you do, you got to face the Pistons or the Thunder. Like, it's just one of those things it's not worth it in the long run, where you could get a better draft pick and set yourself up for success better in the long run. And so now tanking is where it is, where now we're watching all these teams. We're watching teams do ridiculous things, except for the Sacramento Kings. They just continue to be themselves, and they continue to just be as bad as they are.
Yeah, shout out to the Kings. Still just losing and having and Pelicans, they've been on a win streak. So maybe they can get that to 3 games, but Jazz had a big win tonight. But no, I think the thing right now too is everybody is giving their opinion on, everybody's freaking out over it. All right. And every podcast out there is like, here's our solution to fix tanking. And now there's
here's ours.
Yeah. And it's a million theories out there of like, this would fix it. There's no perfect one. Like, I know a lot of people feel very confident about their one that would fix it. And it's funny seeing everybody just feel so like I watched somebody earlier. It's like, they were just so 100% confident of you just abolish the draft. And I'm like,
that's slightly.
Yeah. Well, I don't
slightly
think
he's on abolish the draft right now. He's on it.
Like 100%.
Yep.
We got to get him.
He said it on the show like 2 days ago or yesterday.
We got to get him on here because that just sucks for the small markets. And it, like, for everybody who complains about the Dodgers in baseball, you're really going to get that of like, you look at a draft like this and it's like, all right, cool. Which city do you want to go to? Darren Peterson or DePonsa, or which big city? And it's like, yeah. So I don't know. I'm not the biggest fan of that unless you try to regulate like exactly how much. I don't know. There's some weird ways with it, but here's a question I have too. Do you think it'll be as bad next year? Do you think people will care as much next year? Because the draft next year is supposed to not be very good at all. And this year's class is so loaded that you're seeing these teams do this. Like, I don't feel like it's going to be that big of a discussion next year.
That's the thing, is that it's because this draft class is so good. You go back to like what, 2024, or you go back to 2024 when it was the Recency draft. That's a terrible draft. We did not see as much blatant tanking. You had the bottom teams, obviously, the Hornets, Wizards, Pistons only won 14 games, Wizards only won 15 games, Blazers, Spurs. But the Grizzlies won 27. They're bad. Jazz 31 and 51. The Rockets didn't make the play, and they were 500, right? Like, so you didn't have, it wasn't as bad when the draft wasn't as bad. That's the problem, is that this draft is supposed to be really, really good. You got 3 guys at the top that some people are saying should all go ahead of Cooper Flagg, which is ridiculous, but they're saying it. And if that's your read on it, then yeah, you're going to do everything you can. There's flattened odds, which the flattened odds do one thing. The flattened odds make it hard up top for you to like tank so hard at the very top where you're like, all right, well, if I got to get to 1, right? Like but it also, like, the Grizzlies can go, we can go from 6% at the number 1 pick to 9%, or if we stay at 9, we have a 4.5% chance to get the number 1 pick. If we get at 6 in the lottery standings, it goes to 9. Like, that all of a sudden gives them more incentive to tank from the bottom middle tier to the top middle tier. Like, that has all affected everything, I think. That's
how I feel too. I feel like it's almost affected it the opposite, that it's made more teams try to tank, because you also have that incentive of like, well, if I just get to 4 instead of 1, then I'll have the same odds. Right. And it's like, well, dang. And so now I say that about like, hey, I think it's a little hyped up now because of draft class. I do think they got to make some changes at some point, but it's not just because of this year. And so, like, some of the things, like, you said the other day in a text message, like, hey, just take the protections off the picks.
I think that's a start.
Yeah. And I'm with that. Like, I like that. Like, take the protections off the picks, because then that's what's getting so much of this weird right now. Like, top 8 protected. Well, now we got to make sure here. Like, if you
that's what the Jazz are doing.
Yeah. Or like make the protection like, top 14, like it's a playoff thing. Like, hey, you get the pick. If you miss the playoffs, you don't get the pick. That's the only type of protection you could do. I saw one the other day that I actually didn't mind too much. And I know people's argument against it is you set the lottery odds at the halfway point of the season.
Oh, I saw somebody say this today.
And the
halfway point is the All-Star break.
Yes.
You love that. That's
and some people just fight back immediately with, well, people will just start losing on purpose earlier.
They will in December.
Yeah, but I don't think it would be as bad, because you got to think about how many teams still feel like they're in it then. Like, still feel like they're like figuring themselves out. Like, some of these teams
did the Bulls still think that they were in it at that point, at the halfway point?
Are we really talking about the Bulls? They sell everybody for second round picks.
Well, they did, but did they halfway through this season? Or did they still think they were in it after their 6-1 start?
I don't know. Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. They're an example of a team that maybe thought that they were still in it halfway through the season.
Oh yeah.
But when they got to the trade deadline, they were like, no, we're going to sell all of our guys for second round pick.
Yeah. So like, and I think it's a little bit different of like for your fan base and your market and everything to start the season and you just start losing and it's very obvious. Like you're the Jazz and you're not playing people in the fourth quarter sometimes. Like right off the bat, man, that's a really tough sell. Like doing it then compared to doing it in February. So there is something with that. I don't think that's the like solve all things, but if like you picked a couple of these things and at least try it, like, hey, eliminate the protections. The lottery odds are set halfway through the season. You know, is there a way to like, if you don't make the playoffs after a certain amount of years, then you find like ownership gets a fine, like a hefty fine at that point. Like, I don't know. Like, I think there's some things that they should at least like revisit and go to the table with.
Halfway through when you're saying that, I just realized, can you just give like a quick knock to the helmet real quick? Just like okay. Just so that everybody listening on Apple and Spotify know that you've been wearing a military grade, like Army helmet this entire segment.
Yes, I have.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure everybody can visualize that in their head.
I'm ready. We're in the tanks, baby. We're in the front lines. Dude, the Mavs have a battle. I mean, they have a battle coming up with some tanks over a four game stretch.
What's your most excited tank game that the Mavs have coming up?
Oh my gosh, it's that 4 game stretch. You better strap in inside that tank because you're going to be taking artillery nonstop.
After the All-Star break, after the games that defined the Mavs season, February 22nd at the Pacers.
Whoa.
February 24th at the Nets.
Yeah.
February 26th at the worst team in the NBA, Sacramento Kings. Well, the Kings have won a game since by then.
Surely, hopefully.
I think it'll be like 17 or 18 game losing streak. And then 27th of February, second night of a back-to-back at home versus the Memphis Grizzlies. Well, I think the Mavs could win all 4 of those games.
Oh, they very well could because they play hard. Yeah, you're taking rounds left and right on that one. You bet. I mean,
are they taking rounds or are they loading rounds?
No, you're taking them because there's other tanks trying to like sink you or trying to destroy you. Like you got to strap in, reload fast, keep like.
You're tanking. Are you trying to tank your own tank or are you trying to tank somebody else's tank?
No, if you're tanking, you're trying to like destroy the other tank. Like if you're the last tank standing, you're the number 1 pick.
By losing.
Yeah, but a loss is a shot. Like,
are we sure that our tank is not getting destroyed? When the tank is destroyed, that means you're good.
If the Mavs win all 4 of those games, then our tank is like barely trucking along.
Yeah, the cannon is sticking. Like it doesn't spin anymore.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking about moving. I mean, realistically, you're moving down to what, 9 or 10 at that point. Chicago's coming in strong with a new Panzer, and they're like, "Hey, we're going to lose a lot." And
later today, we're going to talk about Cooper Flagg. He's out for the Rising Stars game. He's also got a foot injury. Are we concerned about it? We'll talk about that a little bit later today. Check out the LockedOnMavericks.supercast.com Everydayers Club, where you can get all kinds of access to ad-free shows, access to the Discord, stuff like that. Go check out that. Links in the description as well. Guys, thanks so much for listening to Locked On Mavs.
Peace out.
Boom.
Pledge allegiance to the flag, man.